Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother podcast. Hey, everybody, how's it going?
Great. Not bad, Ralph.
John, we're over here.
All right. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
Classy.
Yeah, it's
okay.
real good.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you.
I hope you
Today we got another
kidneys.
We got another fabulous. Yeah, you got your kidneys. We have another fabulous Indian film we're about to do called Andhadhun. I think I got that right.
Wait a minute, Ralph. Right.
Before we get rolling,
yeah, definitely.
I just want to announce that thanks to our friends in India, it looks like we've gone over 1,000 subscribers. So there's that. Nice job.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
You guys really made a big difference. That's going to help us a lot. And the other thing is, along with that 1,000 subscribers, today is my brother Ralph's 61st birthday. So please give it up for Ralph.
And I think, and my sons worked really hard to get us to that 1,000, so I appreciate that.
And you worked hard to get them. So think about that. It's kind of a trade-off. Actually, so that worked out well.
It wasn't that hard, to be honest with you. The work was not that hard.
Had to be hard enough, I guess.
All right. So Chris is going to introduce this film.
Was that Drew or Sean who said that?
Now we flip boxes. This is happening all night long.
That's all right. That's good. All right. It's gold, Jerry.
Trying to keep me off. Sean and Debbie keep flopping around.
I'm going to keep my glasses on.
So, Chris, tell us what the film is, and then we'll get rolling into it.
The movie, the one that everybody picked and suggested and then picked from the poll.
That's right. It was a poll winner.
Yes, this is our poll winner with 61% of the vote. Is called Andhadhun, I believe is how you pronounce it. Sorry if I butchered that a little bit. It's from 2018. It was directed by Sriram Raghaven. Once again, sorry for the mispronunciation there. And basically the movie is about a gentleman named Akash, a young guy who is at heart a musician, but also a bit of a grifter, a bit of a scam artist at the same time, we find out really quickly. And it's basically about him. He's pretending to be blind, first as an experiment to see if it could make him a better musician by focusing solely, by being more focused and only focusing on the music. But what happens is very quickly he gets pulled into a situation where he becomes gets a little local celebrity as a piano player in a bar, at a very nice restaurant and bar. And then he kind of semi-befriends a former Indian Bollywood star, I guess, or Tollywood, as the case may be. And so what happens is he gets pulled into this situation. And of course, as an older fading star, he's got a younger, ambitious wife. And in very short, things start to go wrong.
Ambitious.
Yeah. And so very quickly, his whole idea of him being blind, even though he's not blind, starts to cause all these troubles in his life. And he gets pulled in again and again and again. And as things get deeper and deeper, a murder occurs. And then, of course, he's like, but he sees everything, not sees in quotes, but he actually sees it, or sees the aftermath.
Okay. Let's before we get too much further, we have to announce it. We got to spoil the film.
Yeah, there will be spoilers tonight.
There will be spoilers.
We cannot talk about this film without spoilers. Right. For anybody who hasn't seen it, the surprises kind of build up. But we're just going to say, if you don't want to spoil it, come back and watch this later. But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem at all. So basically what happens is this guy, at first it starts out, and what I really liked about this movie is the way that you kept thinking, or at least for me, I kept thinking it was going to go down a certain path, right? But then it kept taking these great left turns, right? And it would kind of throw me for a new thing. Because each time in my mind, I know that this is, like a 2.5 hour film. And I see that, about 45 minutes has gone by, and I'm like, well, okay, this is how it's going to play out. And I think, okay, this is going to take a while. And then a left turn hits. And at first, what happens is, he's kind of creating this life. He has a relationship with this absolutely adorable girl next door type. She's the daughter of the owner of the restaurant that he's playing in. And then the next thing you know, you start to think, well, maybe he's not going to tell anybody about the crime he's just witnessed because, well, he doesn't want to lose all that. He doesn't want to lose. He's getting a great deal on his apartment, apparently, because he's blind. And so it's like he gets a grant to stay in this apartment for very little money. It's like rent control. But because he's an artist, with, who's, sight impaired, right? So you start to think, well, maybe he's not going to do the right thing because of all of this. But lo and behold, he goes to the police station, and turns out, well, guess what? The guy who was involved with the killing, he's like the commander, he's like the captain of the police.
I knew as soon as he walked into the police station that guy was going to walk out. I knew it. I don't know why I knew it. I just knew it. Didn't matter. It was still great, but I knew it.
But like I said, what I liked most about this film was all of the turns that, like, every time you thought it was going to play out in a certain way, it really kept me guessing, which, you know, not to pat myself too strongly on the back, takes a lot. You know, I've seen a lot of movies, and sometimes, you know, you can see the twist coming a mile away, and I thought I could in a lot of these situations, but there was twist after twist. And it didn't get old. That's the thing I really liked. You know, sometimes you watch a film and you go, okay, this is straining any sort of credulity, right? Because it's too many twists, and you're like, this would never work out. But for some reason, I was with this movie the whole way through, even though the twists kept getting a little bit more ridiculous. And then, of course, at the very end, it kind of throws this one final twist in there that maybe he's a completely unreliable narrator, and you're not really sure what you've...
Kaiser Soze.
Very, very much, yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, John. Kaiser Soze. So I really enjoyed this film from beginning to end. Jump in. What did you guys think?
Well,
go ahead, Sean.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say, and I'm going to, of course, be spoiling it, is, well, at first, I wanted to make sure I was watching the right film, because it opens with this farmer walking down with a gun in a field. And then, of course, it's an Indian movie, so we have a rabbit, but it's a CG rabbit. And the rabbit is the fakest looking rabbit I've ever seen. And I'm sitting there watching it like, why are we watching a movie with a guy walking through a field about to shoot a rabbit? This doesn't sound like our movie.
And on top of that, it was an old style rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looked like it wasn't in, I don't know what time frame it was supposed to be, but it definitely, once you get into the film, you realize that's not the same. Something was off about that scene, and it resolves itself.
It paid off at the end.
Beautifully.
Plus,
because the rabbit was blind too.
Right.
The rabbit is at least blind in one eye.
Right. One eye.
Pretty obvious.
Which our hero,
well,
who you're rooting for through this.
We use the term loosely.
Not quite. Now, since Sean froze, I'll jump in a little bit. My typical, I got to get it through the first 20 minutes of a film was not the case on this one. This one had me from the get. I understand that rabbit scene at the beginning was a little bit like unusual. So, and then it paid off as soon as I saw the Poon sign, the sign.
Right.
That I go, that's the same. And then all that stuff happens at the end, which was just glorious. Go ahead, Sean. You froze. I just jumped in. Go ahead. Finish up.
Okay. But to me,
or not. I just want to say we've thrown out comparisons to Fargo. I think was thrown out. Tarantino was thrown out. Sean, you keep freezing, so we're just going to go until you get a good signal. Okay. Anyway, lots of comparisons to other films, rightfully so, because this had elements. This had elements from a lot of different genres and directors. And it did keep me guessing, especially the kidney turn, the turn where
the organ transplant turn.
The illegal
harvesting
organ transplant turn with the guy who was riding the scooter or whatever, basically a taxi driver that was taking him around everywhere. And the lady who was the lottery lady who turns out to be an evil son of a bitch. I mean, just amazing. And this, again, back to these movies where they're so earnest in their singing and the music is so poppy and beautiful. And frankly, especially when you watch the scene where the wife that does the murder comes into the restaurant he's playing at, like every music he's playing when people are around seems to be a soundtrack for the film. I mean, essentially, because I think even that song mentions the devil or something. I don't know when I read about it, but just what they were doing around the scenes was just very smart. Very smart. It was awesome. And so a lot of things I want to talk about, but I want other people to talk about the film before we move on, because there's some questions I have and some.
I love this movie. I mean, I was bowled over by it. It wasn't what I was expecting. First of all, it was contemporary, which we haven't watched. I don't think we've watched in any film that was contemporary.
But that's what was confusing about that first scene. It's like, what's going
but that
on?
I didn't pick up like on the age of the rifle. I just like I said, okay, this is a typical Indian movie because this scene's out of left field. I don't get this. And then they cut right into the guy. So I really got into it. And then when he pulled the contact lenses out of his eyes and he can see, I was like, what the hell is going on? And then they played on that. And then that entire murder scene, which did you know that the Simi and the guy did not rehearse that scene? So that was all improvised. They only knew where the cameras were going to be. They didn't rehearse any movement about getting rid of the body, putting it in the suitcase, all that stuff. So that was completely improvised because the director wanted it to be spontaneous. But that scene where you know what's funny about that scene, and this isn't a criticism, but I thought it would have been, maybe Sean can answer this from a screenwriting standpoint. I thought the payoff would have been much bigger had after that scene he goes back to his apartment, pulls off the contacts, and now you realize he can see.
No, because
he's freaking out about what he saw.
John, the whole point is he can see, especially that scene when he walks in the bathroom and he turns and the guy's in the corner with the gun. The whole point is he's pulling it off because he can see.
Yeah, but wouldn't that his reaction to that? Oh yeah, I guess so. Because that one scene.
You need to know that he can see because
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that was the same guy, was the police guy right away. I didn't catch that. Yeah, I didn't see that because he looked much bulkier than that.
Well, the other thing with that being blind is that all I knew about this movie was a blind man witnesses a crime he shouldn't be able to witness. It's literally the only line I read about the movie. I didn't know anything about it. So I started watching the movie and it's like this romantic comedy. And then, you find out he's not really blind. So that's tension immediately into the whole story and what's his relationship going to be with the girl. And then when you see those legs sticking out from the wall, I was like, but
it was also a note on the piano.
There was some crime part of this movie.
He played a note on the piano when they showed the legs too.
No, that's what I mean. His music was the soundtrack to the film. When you watch those, it's pretty good. It's pretty.
Let me go back to one point. You know, Hitchcock talked about this all the time. The difference between surprise, where you get one shock, and suspense that will run through a whole scene. So, you know, it would be a great shock if he got home and took out the contacts and you realized he couldn't get it. But this gave tremendous suspense.
Right, that's true. That's true.
That was amazing. He's sitting there, and then you cut to the angle, and you could see the guy's legs. And then I guess he needed to go to the bathroom after that. And then he goes to the bathroom, and he's led in there. And then you see the angle. There's a guy there, half-naked guy there in a T-shirt holding a gun.
But it's his reaction, like to think that quick. The other thing is to be that quick on your feet.
Right.
To pretend. Now, he's been doing it for
to not react.
Time. Right.
Yeah,
he's been doing it for a long time, so I guess he's practiced at it. But even like Debbie was mentioning the Scream Mask, that scene where
where she kept testing him. Yeah.
But
that was the way they shot that bathroom scene. I mean, you know, at the angle they shot it, you looks like he's alone. All of a sudden, the camera starts moving.
That's what I mean.
And now you see the guy right there.
He has
and
to
that
be
woman, Tubi, is that her name?
Yeah, she's
Tabu.
She's phenomenal.
The most evil character I've ever seen in a movie in a long time, and she played it just deliciously. I mean, it was great the way she played it,
and you were hoping her.
Well, I hated her. I wanted to get her comeuppance at the end.
I did too, but still, when she
that
dropped
scene
the
where
lady
she took off, you go, "Oh, she's showing a little mercy. She's going to let the guy go." And then all of a sudden, she peels around and starts going at him. I'm going, "That bitch is going to die. She's got to die." So I love this movie. It took so many. It was like so many different movies, and I felt like when they started doing the harvesting, I said, "Wow, this movie really took a dark turn." And I thought they were really going to cut him off. Well, first I thought she killed him, so I didn't see that coming. But then she blinded him, which was awful.
Yeah.
But then when they're going to
the term for that, and this is a classic screenplay thing. If you could pull it off, and if that's what you call a classic reversal. Yeah. You know, if you saw the movie The Panic Room, where Jodie Foster and her daughter are trapped there by a burglar in a panic room. And then halfway through the film, she gets out and the guy is trapped in there with the but still has the daughter hostage. It's a classic reversal. And in this film, the guy's pretending he can see. Pretending he can't see, and he can see. And in the second half of the film, he's literally blinded, and at times is pretending he can see. So I couldn't think of a more brilliant way to do a reversal than that.
Well, there's lots of reversals going on in this.
Yeah, this was just such a perfect film, and the sense that it's like everybody who was evil. There were a lot of people like
they were all evil.
Molly and the mother. It's like I would say the son is like the only decent person completely in the movie because he objected to taking out two of his.
Yeah. He only wanted to take one kidney. He didn't want to take both of them.
That son, was he the son of the...
That shows you the ethical nature of the people in the business. That the nice guy is the one who's only going to steal one of his kidney. And, had they played the plot properly, they may have ended up with money and the kid wouldn't have died and the woman wouldn't have been, so... And then that reversal, it's like where he's got to think, am I going to work with the girl? Because when they come back, they've tied me up.
Right.
They're going to kill me. And then he decides to work with the worst person in the film.
Right. And gets beat to crap with a crutch.
And I want to tell you, as crazy as everything was, when he got off, and for the people, there was a witness. She didn't witness the murder, but she realized there was a nosy neighbor across.
Oh, yeah.
Who witnessed that. No, it wasn't just the piano player. It wasn't the husband. There was another man in there, and she's telling this to a police guy. And so when our hero's still pretending to be blind, he's going to give a piano lesson. He sees Tabu murder.
As the elevator door opens.
Yeah, as the elevator door opens.
She's flipping her over the balcony.
And then he's, of course, still has to pretend he hasn't seen anything.
Well, the scene when she refers to it later on, you killed your husband. He was the only one. I didn't do it. Well, you killed the neighbor. Oh, she deserved it. She was nosy.
Yeah. Well, she's nice. I liked her. But then she says, but I liked her. She was nice.
Yeah.
I have one question. I'm confused about the husband's murder. Because I don't know if I didn't sleep through this one. I watched the whole thing. I swear to everybody. All right? Let me just say that from the get. Did he shoot himself or did the other guy shoot him? Because they did the flashback. But they never got to the point.
It was a little confusing. I could see how you might think that, but because the gunshot was in his throat, I wasn't sure if we were going to find out that there was some kind of an accident because we don't know whose gun it is at first.
She kind of said we didn't murder him,
but she killed him. But she's saying it's an accident that he came home to surprise me. We weren't planning on murdering him, but then when he showed up, we killed him. Right. I mean, then that was not a planned like we're going to kill my husband and run away together.
I thought it was he slipped and shot himself, but they didn't show that. They showed up to the point.
I 100% could see how you thought that. I thought that might be a possibility, but that didn't turn out to be what happened. So I just think that they encountered each other, and he dropped the stuff and was shocked, and they just shot him.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with the policeman / lover and the guy because the guy has the gun.
Struggled for the gun.
I think they struggle for the gun. They obviously the guy's a young, super strong weightlifter type of guy. He's not going to have too much trouble overpowering an older, out of shape actor. Do you know what I mean?
But they never showed that. That was not.
You never see it. You're right. Because I thought it too. Because when it looked like it was in the bottom of his throat, where somebody might, just in some sense of just horrible shame, just kill themselves.
Now, was that actor? Those clips they went back.
Yes, they were really him. Anil Dhawan. He really was a Bollywood star in the 70s.
That's
musical
so cool.
too.
That is so cool. And then they did a whole credit bed with all the piano, the Indian piano playing.
Was great. I thought he was great, and the fact that he was I thought he was the most appealing thing about the movie. So I was kind of surprised.
More appealing than the cute girlfriend, the cute meet where she runs him over, and that woman's adorable.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the two ladies they picked for this film are great in the sense that. Tabu, the woman who plays Simi, she's just obviously great. Mother level gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the actress that plays Sophie has that perfect, girl next door kind of
definitely
cuteness that is, hard to.
But again, a lot of kid slapping in this film. Although that kid did deserve it. That little bastard.
Well, he kind of did. Holding up the phone on the stick. That was so funny.
He knew the guy wasn't blind though. That's what was great about it.
I knew from even before there was a murder plot, that this kid was going to cause him a lot of problems.
Well, I just and the nice girl, the only innocent one really in the film is the girlfriend, and she slapped that kid pretty hard.
Yeah,
yeah. We can talk a little bit more, but I want to get into the ending a little bit and what that might have meant or didn't mean. Debbie, what were your thoughts?
Well, it cracked me up so much. I mean, each part of that film, there was just hilarious because you know that he could see everything and he played it so well.
Yeah.
You know, you say that what was not rehearsed, and I could see how they could pull it off without cracking up, you know, especially when she had the scream mask on her head, you know.
Well, she knew it, though. She knew it.
Yeah.
And eventually she pulls the gun out, and that's when he gave up the whole thing. Yeah. So,
well, she put the poison in the drink first.
I know. I knew that she poisoned that's the other thing. I knew that she poisoned that offering she gave him because he spilled the drink. He spilled the drink, and that's when he realized, that offering you gave me is what. And right,
well, that's when she pulled the gun on him. When he knocked over the drink,
right. But I thought he was dead too. I thought that was it. It's over for him.
Well, I don't know this, but I think she gave him a gummy.
No, it's like a peach or something. I don't know what it came from.
I think that was a religious tradition.
Yeah, I think so. She came from a funeral. She said this is an offering or something.
So I suspect that we will find out those details in the comments.
I do have a question
right away.
Why were they so? He gave no indication that he could see. So why were they so skeptical about him not really being blind? I didn't understand that because he came into it.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
I think the big thing that concerned them was when he was blind the whole time that he was in the apartment, and then he went straight to the police station. I got to report a murder, and then the murderer, like you said, was the cop who was there.
Right.
I think then they were like, okay, something is wrong.
That's
here.
what gave it up.
Okay,
that's what gave it up.
Yeah.
All right,
that scene where they quickly flash and he confesses and he jumps up and he's screaming, that was really, really, really. I mean, but I knew for some reason
that he could have saved a lot of lives if he really did that once the thing was there.
Well, I mean, then you meet the doctor who's cutting the kidneys out and the lottery lady who's part of that scheme. I mean, the layers of stuff going on here, and then ultimately that guy's stuck in the elevator, right? The cop's in the elevator, locked. Nobody knows.
Well, no, he shoots himself.
When did he shoot himself?
When the lights go out, he fires his gun and then he yells in pain.
Oh, I heard the ricochets.
Yeah, so I assume we've left him to bleed to death.
To bleed out in there. Which is
I forgot. That's a fitting ending for him.
And even the police inspector's wife. And says, "Go fix this mess." You know, everybody is so corrupt in this film, and I just want to say this. That, I'm with everyone who's mentioned this, is that this film takes one left turn. It really, in a modern screenplay, you have to escalate. And this film does such a great job of escalating the tension and escalating the humor, the black humor at every level. And then this does this classic reversal where now suddenly he's blind. And, will he be able to convince anyone, even if he could have gone to the press then, because everyone knew he was blind. It's like, wait a minute, you're saying you saw all this? Well, let's test you are blind. It was just classic. And, before we go any further, I do want to say this film is dying for an American remake. Of all the films we've looked at, you could remake this one with big Hollywood stars, and it could be just, I wouldn't say just as good because
I don't know about that, Sean. I think part of what makes this work is the earnestness of the characters, like the music, the music that he's playing, and I just don't see how. I mean, it would be. I think it would be a much more serious isn't the right word, but eight heads in a duffel bag. Those kind of movies
that would be closest to me would be Burn Burn After
Reading. Maybe
one woman's desire to get plastic surgery ends up into this international thing with spies that ends up with a lot of people being dead, and even the people at the top of the CIA like, Well, that taught us a lesson. I don't know what it taught us.
Yeah,
We should do that again. To me,
the movie's already been remade a couple of times into Tamil and Telugu. What I was reading about is that everybody thinks that those movies are either fine or just inessential, especially Simi's role, because Tabu is, she's just a legend. She's done movies that are Hindi and Telugu, and she was in Life of Pi and that Mirror film that was the book adaptation like 15 years ago. She's just a huge star. So anybody that takes that type of role is going to have to compete with that.
And it was written for her. The director said she was the only one.
The movie's built around her. I did not like the movie as much as you guys did, but I liked parts of it a lot. I liked her performance a lot. Like that moment when we discovered that she has really blinded him is really shocking. That's how cruel she is. And I think it keeps taking all these turns that we've been talking about, but it's also, I feel like the comedy and the thriller parts, some of the funny stuff is funny and some of the thriller stuff is quite intense and well done. I feel like it keeps bouncing off of each other as I'm watching it. Like I want the tension to ramp up. Like I feel like it's like there's one merciless edit just running through the movie that's going to cut out like maybe 20 minutes and make the whole thing a lot tighter, because what there is now is not bad, but I kept feeling like it never quite picked up the momentum, and certain things like the whole scene where they're both in the room in the clinic and Simi's tied to the wheelchair and he's able to free himself, and then she's trying to get her thing out and talking him around. I felt like that went on forever. And that scene is not inessential. It's how they escape and everything. But I felt like there were examples of that just didn't really work for me. And especially the way that the humor undercut the tension for me, because the movie I kept thinking of, which it's not fair to compare maybe one of the best movies of this kind of movie ever to this movie and say, well, this isn't a good movie, because this was a good movie. I kept thinking of Snatch. Because Snatch, it's just so fast and so intense, and it throws a lot of characters at you and a lot of unexpected twists and turns. And like that movie is very funny. It's very like upsetting when Brad Pitt's mother gets burned to death. It's very satisfying when he gets his violent revenge. There's all these things. So I don't have a problem with the tones crashing into each other, but I don't think that they work as well in this film. And so I didn't love it, but I thought it was good, but it could have been, it was less than the sum of its parts, I think.
Well, that's funny. Well, you mentioned Snatch, and the difference for me, because I love this film, the difference is I like these characters. As evil and despicable as they were, for some reason, it's her power. Her power was overwhelming. I just found her, like, I couldn't take my eyes off what she was doing. And I liked him, the main guy, the character, the blind guy. So I bought into these guys and I wanted to see what happened. I didn't mind this movie taking 2.5 hours, because we keep talking about these left turns, but every turn it takes, it was like, this can't get any crazier than that. And I didn't find it like laugh out loud funny. I didn't find this comical. I found it it was skating that edge of being a little farcical, because that, the doctor was a little, he was a little out of it, and the two other characters that he ends up dying and getting shot. And was that his mother? Were they mother son or husband wife?
I think they were mother son.
Are you sure?
That's the vibe I got.
I thought because someone said, "Boy, he's much younger than you are." I thought that was her husband, but okay, that's again in the comments. Let me know.
I think that I don't have a problem with no one in the movie being a good guy. I mean, Burn After Reading is an interesting comparison, but that movie is maybe 90 minutes. So it's just a much tighter thing. It did remind me of another movie, an American movie that is, to me, a trash classic, which is Wild Things. And that movie has just twist after twist after twist, and they're just as ridiculous, and they're really satisfying. And
great film.
I had more fun with that movie. This is, to me, this is on that spectrum.
Yeah.
It's certainly closer to a movie like that than to just a straight Hitchcock film, because it has the humor. And I also think that the fact that there's as much dark comedy in it and the tonal shifts in it, that's to me very Bollywood. That's very,
I was about to say,
just a different approach to how those tones mix. Like in the first 40 minutes of Bahubali, there's stuff that's just, it's just silly.
Oh, these tones,
So,
we've discovered
you know, and
that,
so
Derek.
to me that was not as extreme in this movie.
No,
but
this one was more. Yeah, this was more
it's
consistent.
It's not just Bollywood. Obviously, it's Tollywood too, but it's an Indian cultural difference, I think. So
well, and you'd think at any minute they're going to go into a song too. I'm still waiting for that, and they kind of were hinting that a little bit. In this
I've been listening to the soundtrack. There's some really great stuff on there. I mean, almost all the music, like you said, is diegetic, and you know, he was actually playing it in the film, and the song that's basically the theme, and it's what he's playing as an instrumental version, and then is the Wo Ladki song that he's playing in the pub in Poland at the end of the movie. That's a great song, and unlike some of the songs that we've encountered in these movies, when you see the lyrics in translation, you don't go, well, wow, that's really on the nose, because I think the translation is more helpful to him remembering this girl. So it's kind of neat when this girl walks up to him while he's playing.
Now, to me, this guy, the main character, Akesh, I think that's his...
Akash. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Akash. Anyway, he reminded me of Jerry Lewis.
What?
Jerry Lewis in...
Buddy Love.
Yes. Exactly. He was playing a blind...
To me, he looked like Barton Fink at the end. Okay, that's all.
There's a little Turturro
with the glasses and the hair, the round glasses and the hair that he had.
He was amazing in this role. I mean, I found him amazing. One, playing the blind he played it so well.
He did.
Yeah, he convinced us.
And he did all his own playing. They said he took lessons. He was a musician, but he didn't play the piano. He took lessons in L.A. 3 hours a day for 2 months. Then he practiced.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Then he practiced, I think, for 5 months. So every shot of him playing, including the close-ups on his hands, that was all him playing.
I will say, because, you know, I used to play the piano, and I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm thinking, man, his fingers seem to be in the right place.
Yeah.
But I didn't think an actor could play the piano.
Yeah. And
the cat didn't do too bad either.
That was a big deal at the director. He wanted to do that. He's a big star, and he had to fight for this role because the director did not see him.
He's a DJ or something.
He didn't
and he's got a great singing voice too. Great singing voice.
See him in the role.
Oh boy. All right, let's talk about the ending.
I do want to say,
what?
You know, anyone out there who's a Hollywood producer, you want to make this film an American version. You want me to write it.
Oh, God.
I want to write it. And I'm going to take care of Drew's problems by making it tighter.
Could you not be so...
1,000 subs, and now you want to write Hollywood screenplays.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, my God.
Is that pandering what he just did, or no?
Sort of.
No, that's not really pandering. That's more like...
begging?
Yeah, it's like a desperate self-promotion at an industry that isn't looking for any of us. So I don't think that's going to be the best way to approach it. But Sean, I am rooting for you. You're my friend.
Sean, you're ruthless. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree with you, Sean. This would make I think American remake would be good in this.
I don't know about that. I don't think we have. I think we're too cynical. I think it would be much nastier than this is.
Yeah, it's more interesting.
This was pretty nasty.
I think it's more interesting as an Indian version of Western film. It's more interesting as an Indian version of a Hitchcock film or something like that.
Maybe their take on it.
And then, you can go back and forth, but
even the big
the original. Did you know they originally wanted to call it "Shoot the Piano Player"?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did,
Funny.
but they ended up not calling it because it sounded too American.
Right.
Yeah. That's why they went with that title.
Now remember, the big burly weightlifting cop was a big pushover with his own wife. He was a big baby with her. I mean, these guys all had different.
Well, with that scene where she was shooting at him through the door,
and they were dropping in and out of English. Was coming in and out.
Well, that was. I found that really. Is that typical?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that
I tried to watch some talk show appearances of the RRR cast and director, and they kept fooling me because the clip would begin and they'd come out and the host would say, "Very excited, these people from RRR," and then immediately switch to Hindi or Telugu, and I was like, "God damn it, I can't watch that either." But I think that it's just switches back and forth in certain words. Like that's what happens when you get colonized for a century and languages bleed into each other.
So that's true. Like in India, that's how people talk. They talk a little English. Oh, that's it. Because it wasn't like that in any other movies we've watched. Not to that extent, anyway.
All right, let's talk about the ending.
Yes, let's.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one theory is that that didn't happen at all.
Yeah, it was a story. It was a con job.
That he said that to Sophie just to make himself come off as better.
Right.
That everything stopped, I think, when he got dropped. No, that okay, so when that happens, when she turns the car around, goes at him, the rabbit gets shot at, the rabbit ends up hitting the windshield and she crashes. When you see that explosion, there's a plane that's going past his head. And the theory is that that's the Learjet that picked him up, took him to Mumbai, took her liver, and gave him the eyes. That's actually what he did. And then
I believe that.
And then played up the blindness again to become famous again, and that's where she meets him in Poland. And he kind of hits that off by his cane has got the rabbit head on it, and then he kicks the can with the cane, which means he could see the can.
Right. Yeah, no, that's how I read the ending. That basically everything after him, because that's when it breaks, when he's telling her the story and then she says what happens next. It's everything from the doctor getting out of the car and getting killed, that none of that happened. They did go to Saudi Arabia, they did do all the things that you said, and I think that's interesting because as we said, nobody in this movie is good. But if he is part of that, that's pretty horrific. But also, she was also pretty horrific. But then he did it. He did it basically so that he could see again, which I understand, but also to become famous. So there's the idea that just because you're an artist doesn't mean that you have any purity or anything good is also interesting. So it was good. I did not expect that final little shot, but the whole unreliable narrator thing to me was introduced too late. It wasn't like Usual Suspects where you can go back through the whole movie and see the stuff on the bulletin board and see all those things. But I see what they were going for with the rabbit head cane and stuff. So I thought that was it was an exciting ending, which I enjoyed.
Well, he was an unreliable narrator through the whole film. I mean, there was no.
Well, he lied to people, but we didn't know that he was telling a story that we were watching that we couldn't rely on.
Right.
Well, I think only the end was a lie. I think
right.
Well, his blindness was a lie.
Yeah, I know, but
the same as being unreliable.
As opposed to like all these people getting killed.
And also, what was a lie too was his sincerity
towards the girl.
Was that a lie? Was that all fake?
No, I think he really cared about it.
I don't.
To her, and then he says, "Oh, I'm blind."
Well, once she realized that he wasn't blind, when the kid showed the video. Then she
got slapped. Yeah.
Well, then he was in bed, with Simi.
Well, she played it up. She was great. That woman.
So
listen,
I saw an interview.
That's a good point to bring up. Because he finally had the chance at the end to make it. If he really cared about the girl, he could have told her the truth that he could see, but he lied to her at the end. So obviously. He wasn't like hoping to get back with her.
No, he cared about being famous.
Right.
Chris is dying to say something. Chris, say it. Say it.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out here. I find Akash to be one of those kind of long line of charming con men and grifters that we have encountered throughout cinema. He kind of reminded me a little bit of like the short con character that John Cusack played in The Grifters.
Oh, it's a great film.
Great film. Such a great movie, right?
Yeah.
So he's the guy that's just kind of doing these little things. He's kind of, hey, I'm pretending to be blind. Yeah, it helps me be a better thing, but I'm also getting really great rent. I don't know what the rupee to dollar conversion is, but 500 rupees doesn't seem like a lot for a decent, place in a decent part of town. But that being said, it's funny. It's like he goes through this and he starts to encounter people who are really bad, right? Not just kind of, hey, I'm a bit of a scammer.
I'm evil.
I'm a bit of a scumbag. I'm going to let this girl think I'm blind and I'm going to go ahead and sleep with her and do all this stuff. I do love the fact that when the whole reason he pulls those things out of his eyes so fast is he's got to check her out, right? Like that's what he does. That's the whole reason.
Yeah, when he takes his shirt off to make sure she's looking at him, he goes to pull his pants down too because he knows she's coming around the corner. No, he was definitely a grifter, no doubt.
He definitely had that. But when you get to the end, like
charming,
he's kind of gone fully into I won't say to the dark side, but like he's definitely gone. You know what? I'm not going to tell her about this because hey, who knows if she would blow him out of the water again to find out he's just pulling his old tricks again.
I saw an interview with the director. And all the editors on the film wanted him to be blind at the end. They did not want that kicking the can thing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The director wanted it, and his rationale was he wanted to show that the lead character was just as evil, and that was his word, is just as evil as everybody else. Because not only did the girl get the kidney overseas, because now they had money, but he also got the eyes too. So he said that is an evil character, and I wanted to show that at the very end, but leave it a little bit ambiguous. But in his mind, he was an evil guy, not as evil as everybody. Well, I mean,
at the end he is.
He is. Right at the end, he is.
That's my
He's
the only innocent
murder,
is Sophie.
so.
Sophie's the only innocent. I feel like in this film.
Well, and her dad Franco, and the husband that's the victim of the crime, like
the neighbor.
There are regular people that are in this movie that are touched by this evil, which I think is an important part of it, because it's one thing for him to get blinded by someone who's awful, and eventually he's as awful as she is. But that scene where the elevator doors open and she's throwing the neighbor over the balcony. That was shocking. That was like The Departed or Infernal Affairs, when Anthony Wong in Infernal Affairs, and I guess it's Martin Sheen, just comes flying off the building behind Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like, I did not expect that, but it's also very cruel, and that person didn't deserve that.
That's true.
Now,
that's true, but it was still funny. I mean, it was funny.
No, it was like a
still had a
very darkly comic shot.
Yeah, he had to pretend.
He thinks he can walk around and be sighted. As soon as he leaves the car and the doors, he goes in the apartment, he's looking around already. So he didn't expect that, and the way he caught himself. Anyway, I loved it. I loved him, and I loved the evil woman. I don't know.
Listen, Tabu is
I love Sophie
actress.
too. Sophie, I felt bad for Sophie. I felt like she got the short end of that stick. So.
She was lucky.
She loved him.
Yeah, she's lucky that she didn't end up with him.
I like to say something. This is the first film I remember. Maybe there's another one, Sean, that you or anybody else who can remember, that deals with organ stealings. You always have that as a legend.
No, there's a Gene Hackman and Hugh Grant does something where they're taking kidneys out of homeless people in the subway.
Chris is going to say what I think I'm going to say. Go ahead, Chris.
Dirty Pretty Things.
Oh my God, that movie is so good.
Yes, it is
so
phenomenal.
Good. That's an excellent movie about immigrant hotel workers, and one of them discovers a heart in a toilet, and they realize that there's a whole organ theft ring going through their hotel. It's a Stephen Frears movie. It's got Chiwetel Ejiofor and what's her name from Amelie? Audrey Tautou, and a bunch of other. That movie's got to be 20 years old. I still remember that.
Put that on your list.
Dirty Pretty Things is an excellent movie.
Hey, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Stephen Frears direct The Grifters too?
I think he did.
Yes, I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he did. He's
guy.
good for the seamy underbelly type of.
Grifters is a great film.
That is a great film.
I've only watched that once because of the scene when Cusack gets killed. I can't watch that movie because of that scene.
That's when Angelica Houston gets a cigar put out on her hand. That one really.
Well, how about Bobo beating her with the oranges? That was pretty
bad. That scene at the end is just
doesn't actually do it
because it's his mother. His mother is.
It's not just that, the way he goes. I mean, with that the glass sticking out of his neck, it was just awful.
All right, let's review this one and talk about what we're going to try to do for the next show. So I'm gonna immediately say Yippee-Ki-Yay right up there.
Yeah, me too. Yippee-Ki-Yay.
Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother
podcaster. Drew?
Yeah, Yippee-Ki-Yay. I mean, it's a good film. I didn't like it as much as you guys, but I did find it entertaining. And when I started to feel like, okay, this is really too long, the ending was pretty fun. So that was nice to have a payoff.
I really enjoyed this, and I wasn't finding myself having the same problems I have.
It was nice to watch a contemporary movie too.
Well, I knew where I was. Again, the shot at the beginning was a little bit like, why am I seeing that old style rifle? That's all.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
But then as soon as I saw, like I said, the stone there that gave the
marker.
The marker, immediately, it was amazing. Immediately, I'm like, oh, we're back to that spot again. So I knew something was going to happen to her, which is great. It was great.
Well, plus, also, that's the clue to the ending, because that the blind rabbit gets away.
Yeah,
and he gets away, but he's not even really blind. You just think he's blind if you saw him on the street. So everything about him is a lie except his incredible musical talent.
All right, so here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go to a movie theater to see Kantara. which is still playing here in the States.
Which a lot of you have been telling us to go see.
Limited. So a few of us are trying to get to a movie theater to go see that this week.
I don't think I'll be able to find it.
If we don't, what we thought we would do is watch the second film that was in the poll. It got, I think, 35% of the vote, or somebody said, I forget.
Oh, and thanks for participating in the poll, by the way.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And obviously, in the comments, give us other suggestions. Even our other shows that we do.
Oh, we don't have to tell them that, Ralph. They've been doing that on every film we ever show.
Even our DVD hunting shows are giving us Indian films to go watch. So the movie's called Padmavat. I think. Sorry for interrupting the show, but we just came out of a screening of Cantera in lovely downtown Germantown, Maryland. All I can say is one thing. Whoa! Yeah. Whoa! Yeah, amazing film. A little bit loud at the beginning. The theater had the sound blaring. As usual, we didn't understand any of it. Maybe some English language speaking might have helped. But it ended up taking place in 1970, right? 1990. So still a little confusing with timelines and things like that and mythology, but an amazing film. What do you think?
Well, it was a little more complicated because it dealt with a lot of issues we don't deal with in this country, like the rights of villagers and their lands versus the rights of reserve forests and normal forests and landlords.
Plus the demigods.
Yeah,
demigods, landlords. Like I said, lots of mythology. Little bit predictable, I'm not going to lie. It didn't take away from any of it. The guy playing the cop looked a little like The Rock, a skinny version of The Rock. Very handsome. The main character, Shiva, was another compelling, just you couldn't take your eyes off this person. Just an amazing film. Can't wait to do a full review on the next show. What do you think?
I think we should.
Yeah, we definitely should.
All right, get back to the show, and we'll see you guys in a week. Let's do a round of What'd You Watch?
Oh, jeez.
All right, let's start with Sean and Debbie.
Well, Debbie wasn't watching it, but, you know, on Halloween, I've been watching a lot of zombie stuff based on that Eye of the Duck thing. Yeah. But I decided to watch, Fear the Walking Dead, which was, I guess, the first spinoff.
Yeah.
And when I watched that show originally, I liked season 1, but got out of it early season 2 because I just didn't like it. But I decided I wanted to watch season 1 again. So I'm like 4 episodes in, and I think it's a good season 1. It's short. I think it's 9 episodes or less. And it's pretty good. But I remember like bailing on that series pretty quick, unlike Westworld, which I stayed for 3 seasons.
That Walking Dead I bailed after. Like I said, we talked about that last week, and I haven't watched any of the other ones. But that Eye of the Duck is making me super interested in watching Dawn of the Dead again, and I just noticed that's playing at one of these theaters in 3D, the one from '79.
Really?
So that would be pretty wild to watch. And it turns out I have this beautiful DVD set that has all the versions of Dawn of the Dead because the director from Italy did
Dario Argento.
Yeah, took his version, and it's a completely different version than, So lots of fun. Debbie, you see anything?
Just the football game.
Oh, and
the Ravens.
Ravens won.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, do we like it? Eli Manning and Peyton Manning just talking over the game.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
stuff.
you know what I love the best? When they come back from a commercial and the play's already gone. I love that. That's the best part of it.
You guys have they're so funny, those two guys. All right, Chris, forget it. We won't talk about it. Chris, I'm going to be a bully and just keep moving.
Okay, real quick, by the way, check out The Peripheral. I'm all 4 episodes in. It's like I said, I'm not even going to try to describe it. Just don't try to do anything else while you watch it. It's excellent. But it caused me to go down a little bit of a science fiction futuristic hole again. And on Tubi, the old Max Headroom TV show is
my God.
So I actually watched like the first 4 episodes.
My Max.
So that's the actual television show, not just the Showtime talk show he had. Right. But yeah, it's funny. That show is so like ahead of its time.
But talk about a con job. I mean, they didn't tell you that was an actor for a long time. Show.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about it is that Matt Frewer had to go through like hours of prosthetics to make him look computerized.
Yeah,
it wasn't really computerized at all. Right. And he had all this prosthetic. Anyway, those are the 2 things I watched.
Wow. And we link him to the remake of Dawn of the Dead. He's in the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
He got what he deserved in that one, I guess.
He died like a
What about The Peripheral? What network is that on?
That's on Amazon Prime. It's like I said, it's really good. I read the book, and they're definitely pumping up the action from the book. But yeah, like I said, it's four of the first of the 8 episodes are out, and so far, man, I'm in all the way.
Yeah, we talked about that last week too. John.
TCM's got all the Universal monster movies, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Wolfman. I've been watching all of those. I just watched The Bride of Frankenstein last night, which I absolutely love. I did a little video short that Karloff didn't want the monster to speak. He thought it took away from the childlike quality. And watching it, yeah, it's a little sappy, but his performance in it is so good because he speaks. Yeah. And he admitted later on in life that it was the right decision, even though he was against it. But it's such a gothic. James Whale did such a good job at that movie. But I love all those Universal monster movies. So if you get a chance, check them out. TCM's running them all right now.
I also did a little spot with The Bride of Frankenstein.
You did? We did a show on it.
Yeah.
You want me to put the link in? I'll put the link in down below.
All right, Drew.
Well, I, like Chris, went down a hole. We've been watching more international movies, so I watched a movie that has been on my radar for, 10 years, 12 years or something. It's called Viva Riva, with an exclamation point. It's the first movie shot in Congo in 25 years, when it was shot in, I think, 2010, because Mobutu Sese Seko, who was the dictator who ruled Zaire, didn't allow movies to be made. And this movie is a straight exploitation, violent, trash, fun, a really well done action movie about a cocky guy who comes to Kinshasa, and they shot it in the streets of Kinshasa, which is a terribly poor place. And he has a truck full of drums of gasoline from Angola that he can sell and make a lot of money, except the Angolans that he stole it from are very upset at him and follow him. And the movie is incredibly violent and ridiculous, and it's really incredibly well done, which is really kind of cool to see. And it's in a world that I've never seen any of that, that environment and those people. And most of the languages are some versions of French because it was a Belgian colony, but it was a really fascinating movie and well worth a watch. I rented it on Amazon for $4. That's been on my watch list for a long time, so it was worth it. And then today I watched a movie that was a little different called Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Oh, Roku. I can't wait to see that one.
The worst thing about the movie, unfortunately, is that you only can watch it on the Roku channel, which means you have to watch it with ads, which is really, it's really not cool. It's not cool. And the movie is fun. It's basically, you don't even really realize exactly how far it's going to go, but Weird Al Yankovic is kind of a specific kind of sort of silly, sweet parody. And the movie is that of biopics. And I thought the first half of it was significantly better than the second half. And Daniel Radcliffe is fantastic. It's not the weirdest movie he's been in, which is Swiss Army Man, but it does some kind of crazy stuff. And the various cameos alone are I'm not even going to say like who played Warhol and who played Dolly. Like it's so much fun to see all these people doing all these different things. So if you want something that's light and silly, especially if you're a fan of Weird Al, and if you're not, you should be. He's just like a really nice guy and his music is fun. I enjoyed that. But Viva Riva was a real discovery for me.
Drew, I want to ask you a question. You were having people over for dinner and you made them watch RRR. Did that happen?
Thank you for reminding me.
Did they like it?
They loved it. They loved it. One of our friends said that's the best movie she's seen in a very long time. And I was like, me too. And they did not mind that it was 3 hours. So we were able to have dinner, socialize, do a little grip training in the gym, and then watch a 3-hour movie and have a great time. So I have really enjoyed sharing that movie with people.
A little grip chain. What you say?
Yeah, I know it's a kind of weightlifting that I do. And
I thought it was a metaphor. So. That was you actually.
No, it was really literally in my gym. It's funny because my colleague came to me at my office and she said I was upstairs in the lunchroom. This was last week. I was upstairs in the lunchroom warming up my lunch, and I heard the head of training, the medical chief officer, and 2 division directors talking about RRR, that Drew had said that they should see it and that they loved it. And I was like, I'm so glad I can spread it through my little corner of
well deserved.
We are promoting Indian culture movies. It's So exciting to be part of it.
By the way, speaking of Weird Al Yankovic, we did a podcast. It might be audio only on his movie VHS, which is actually kind of a funny movie. UHF. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a very funny silly movie.
Michael Richards
is another one, but
Michael Richards.
But with Weird Al, with Harry Potter's what's his name?
That's the one he's talking about.
Yeah, that's the biopic with Daniel Radcliffe.
Here's mine. I'll be real. I'm not going to be super quick because this is awesome. But since democracy looks like it's going to die tomorrow, I decided to see what we're up against, and I bought John Snyder's film called To Die For. You know who John Schneider is?
Yeah,
it should be Duke's at Bow or whichever Duke has it.
Sean knows him.
Sean knows him. We know him personally.
Okay, well, he and his wife have a production company, and they create movies. Okay, and when I say create movies, just in the general sense, they point cameras at things and they shoot a movie. Because this thing, it's about an old dude, an old army guy or something, or I don't know what he is.
Does John Schneider play him?
Yes, and he's upset because some high school football player decided to take a knee before the game, and he ends up sticking a flag on the back of his El Camino, and drives to the high school to protest, and ends up getting arrested and things. But the quality of this
just taken the knee. I don't understand.
The quality of the filmmaking is horrendous. It looks like it's all shot on green screen and poor green screen. There's a shot at the end where he's pointing a gun right at the camera, and you can see they must have done it for like 30 cents. They're trying to save money. It's insane. And here's the funny way. Let me just say this. The high school kid keeps walking by his porch saying, it's not July 4th, get the flag down. And he's wearing a Letterman-style jacket, but the jacket has Rode audio equipment. It's a Rode audio equipment thing. Even on the back, giant Rode microphones. It's like some crew member, they needed a Letterman's jacket, and they just shoved this because it looked like a Letterman's jacket. But let me also say this.
They had a crew member.
Exactly. I think he said he shoots these with about 10 people. But I did find that he did a remake or a re-imaging of Smokey and the Bandit, where he's playing Bandit, or called Duke. It's different. Everybody has slightly different names, but it is basically a shot-for-shot remake, it looks like, of Smokey and the Bandit. So I think I might have to get that one. But you guys got to take a look at this. It's just insanely poorly done.
I got to say one thing about John Schneider.
I'm sure he's a lovely human being.
I tell you what, when I saw him, and I was standing about this close to him, I was looking at him, I'm like, man, is he a good-looking man?
He's so handsome.
Yeah, I mean, he's aged well for a guy that's been around as long as he has.
Well, when I worked with him, it was 2006, so it was...
Let me tell you, though, the one joke he used through the whole film, okay? Everybody walks up to everybody in this film and says, did you get the jab? Did you get the jab? And the joke is, I wouldn't get the jab with Alec Baldwin's arm. Everybody in this movie says this. So his politics are all over every frame of this film.
And I will say,
but you don't care because
most people don't do that with their films. That's interesting.
He is. Well, he's a full blown patriotic right winger. But he doesn't know how to shoot.
I hate those patriotic right wingers.
Oh yeah, John, take a look at this and tell me that it's not a little bit out there. But
it's got to be better than.
Let me just say one more thing about him.
2000 Mules.
The only actors
2000 Mules.
Really enjoyed ad-libbing because he was the comic relief in two of my films, and he was always hilarious. And because I don't always go out to the set of the movies, but I went out to the set with that one, and he was just hilarious throughout. And he was adding some great stuff, and it all got cut out of the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure, Sean, he's actually a good old boy. I actually believe that if you go drinking with this guy, I guarantee, I know, and I bet you if you hang out with him, he's probably one of the greatest people to hang out with.
Yeah, he is.
But watch this film and tell me what the hell is going on, okay? And his quips and his green screen production is just horrendous. So, that's it. And I paid $20 for the film because I wanted to watch it.
Wait a minute, you didn't watch it for $120? You didn't get it for $125?
No, I paid 20 good old American dollars. Who knows what that's paying for? Not the film. I think the whole film cost $20. So I doubled what he made probably. So anyway,
it's probably a write-off like Batgirl. So
well, listen, I want to say about John Schneider how talented he is.
Really. Debbie, please watch this film. Don't. Don't. Just watch the film before you start saying anything else.
One bad movie doesn't make a...
look at his 7 bad movies that are in his catalog. That's what you got to look at. No, I'm sure there was a time that he's probably pretty good, but...
I'm thinking he's going to make a comeback.
Well, recently he was in Curb Your Enthusiasm for a season or 2.
And also...
Schneider was?
Tyler Perry. He was in a lot of Tyler Perry's soap opera.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think Schneider was in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't remember that. But
yeah, he was like some executive or something who was like having an affair with somebody. Yeah.
I don't
it was like 3 or 4 seasons.
All right, I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure, but I'll look that up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Movie, 2 bad movies.
I'm sure he's a fabulous guy.
Yeah.
He's made a terrible movie. All right.
Well, maybe Sean can get him to be a guest.
Are we still on?
No, I'm done.